Welcome back to the Funker 530 Combat Footage Review. My name is Ronnie. I'll be your host once again on this happy Friday. Happy Friday to you. Do me a favor, drop a like on the video, drop a comment in the chat, because we're back for another Friday of the worldwide world of warfare. I am always on travel these days, so I appreciate your patience. I will be on travel again next week, but since I'm here this week, it's time for us to talk about a whole boatload of things. I probably ended up with a little bit too much to cover on tonight's show than I started out with, but as I continued researching the show for the evening, more stuff continued to pop into my feed, and I said, holy shit, that's crazy. So we're going to get started right out of the gate with a little bit of a familiar location for at least some of you. Well, I'm going to take you to Afghanistan, where the Afghans, well, the Taliban, let's just call it what it is, have essentially declared some kind of like de facto state of war with Pakistan, and Pakistan has done the same thing. Anyway, Pakistan dropped an airstrike on Kabul, and I thought that was pretty amazing. That's what we're going to take a look at to start things off tonight, but we're going to end up kind of all around the globe. First, let's head to the map. We are headed to Google Earth. Thank you, Google Earth. Explore Earth. We're going to head to this spot here. Fun fact about this spot, it's about 3 football fields away from, well, more than that. Was that like a kilometer? What is a kilometer? This used to be Camp Phoenix, if I remember correctly. I've been to Camp Phoenix like a lot of times. Like a bunch. Somewhere around in here. Anyway, this exact spot is about to get blown up by a Pakistani airstrike, probably delivered by an F-16, if I'm being honest. We'll talk more about kind of what the origin story of this latest Taliban versus Pakistan is right after we watch Pakistan blow up Kabul. It's not a globe. What is it, flat? Yeah, so 2 strikes there. You can see that sports complex field or whatever that is. Yes. I don't think there's any audio for me right now. Taliban and Pakistan are fighting? Ain't no way that this is real. Brother, here's the thing. In a fight between the Taliban and Pakistan, I'm taking the side of the bombs, if I'm being honest. We're just gonna throw that out there. Got another airstrike here. I don't have a great geolocation for this one, but that footage is coming up for you now. Well, it's actually 3 airstrikes, kind of in one little grouping of videos. Yeah, I kind of want to know how exactly I can get more of my tax dollars to go towards. I realize that it's my tax dollars fighting against my tax dollars. This is not the first time we're going to see this tonight, nor is it the first country we're going to see this from tonight. But I'd really like to know how I can get more of my tax dollars to go to both of these parties. That makes them more effective. I want there to be polls or something. You know, this week, what would you like your tax dollars to go towards? No, I don't want them to go towards the frogs having sex. I want them to go towards Pakistanis and the Afghans fighting. That's what I want my tax dollars to go towards. All right. I think there's some more video here. Oh, yeah. Yeah, here we go. More Pakistani airstrikes. Recorded on Potato Model 001. Oh, India's probably way into it. India's probably actively funneling both curry and weapons to the Taliban right now. Discretion advised on this one. So something that we've covered a lot of at Funker 530 are thermals, especially being used by Taliban-Pakistan, Pakistani forces themselves, but thermals in Ukraine as well. Here is some more footage of thermals, but a bit more recent. Specifically speaking, we're talking about Pakistani forces targeting Taliban through thermals. Now, you do see people shot in this. War happens in this video. So, once again, discretion advised. Here it comes. Ow. At least we know the sound works. Hello from Spain. Yep. So if you look carefully there, you can see this is a silhouette. This is a terrible thermal. Another there. Kind of all just routing towards that fatal funnel, or through that fatal funnel. 1, 2, 3. Woof. But in classic Taliban fashion, Taliban is gonna Taliban. In Punjab, a Pakistani police checkpoint was targeted by a Taliban doing a Taliban. And when I say that, the Taliban literally came out and said they might have nukes, but we have suicide bombers. They said that out loud. Discretion advised. Here is the Taliban doing a Taliban. Now, 4 policemen were killed and 3 civilians were wounded in this suicide attack. No one's more conflicted about this than the ISI. The ISI is very confused. They are not quite sure what exactly to do. Yeah. The National Resistance Front, so essentially Northern Alliance version 2, has also thrown their hat into the ring to target the Taliban. Nobody likes the Taliban, except for, I don't know, 2021 United States military. Now, I actually think this is someone of prominence within the National Resistance Front as well. Let me double check my source on that. Yeah, it says this is NRF military leader Hasib Markaz. I actually don't know what his position within the National Resistance Front is, but given that they're naming him like as a person rather than just a National Resistance Front guy, I would assume he's got some level of prominence. Here's some more of the Taliban, though, and some of their other tactics that they're using. This is going to look a little bit familiar to you. This is somewhere inside of Pakistan, though I don't have a very good location for it. That was air defense activity. I like the sounds they added to it. Do you hear the blast? Look. Nice little fort there. Yeah, a little star fort. All right, let's bring it up. We've got grad fire as well. So this is presumably grad, could be Oregon, but these are Pakistanis firing grad at what is purported to be Taliban positions. It could just, probably just a general direction, but here it is anyway. Takbir! What was that? Is that Oregon or is that a grad? That's grad. Yeah, grad. That old truck style. All right, let's bring it up. But the Taliban have some BM-27s. Okay. Anyway, let's talk about the origin story of this. Before we do that, I just hope both teams have a good time. Apparently, Pakistan either conducted a drone strike or an airstrike that killed civilians in Afghanistan. Afghanistan, the Taliban, let's just call it what it is, mobilized along the border in the east near like Nangarhar, started hitting some Pakistani outposts. Pakistan has since pushed back and has actually taken ground inside of Afghanistan. The United States State Department actually just recently put out a message of acknowledging Pakistan's ability to defend themselves. I wouldn't necessarily say picking a side, but to be honest, I hope they both have fun. We'll just put it that way. Speaking of having fun, I'll show you some folks that aren't having fun right now, and this is going to get into the topic that everybody's asking about in the comments, and no, I don't have an update on any of that. But the USS Ford is on its way to the Middle East. It has arrived in Haifa, so it's there. But when I say not having fun, they arrived there in a bunch of poo water. The toilets, something like 80% of the toilets that service 5,000 sailors on the USS Ford are inoperable right now. It must be the poop deck they're always talking about. Now, what's really interesting about this deployment for the Ford, it's, like I mentioned, sitting off the coast of Haifa right now, probably in some form of a defensive capacity, given impending presumed strikes on Iran. This extension is, I want to say, their second or their third extension, and they're currently deployed for more than 240 days. By April, they will be at sea for the longest deployment since what, like the Cold War? Long time. Anyway, if you wanted to see what the Ford looks like, here is the Ford as it was departing Greece yesterday. This is Crete. Calico Jack, thank you for the 5 gifted memberships, man. How can a toilet break on a literal ship? Well, it's still all pressurized lines and stuff, right? It's all plumbing on there. These are small cities. I have a family member, my brother-in-law, just to be specific about it, that used to work on an aircraft carrier as a nuke. Nuke being, there's 2 versions of that. There's the weapons guys, and then there's the power pack guys, the folks that manage the nuclear propulsion systems. He was one of the engine guys. he shares all these stories about aircraft carriers, and it's fascinating to me. These are small cities. They have like little shops. They've got hair cutteries. They've got all kinds of stuff to help them be sustainable for long periods of time, as a part of power projection. Really, is what it is. The United States had, what do we have, 11 aircraft carriers, something along those lines? I mean, these things are meant to be as self-sustaining as possible. While we're talking about Iran, though, no, I don't have any new updates on Iran at the moment, unless literally things are kicking off in Iran right now. But what is this? Oh, I just came across a new video for us to cover. Here's an Irish ship running into something. Check this out. Can't park there, bud. We'll do it live, I guess. Yeah, it's not supposed to do that. There isn't necessarily any new update. The biggest, I would say that the biggest thing to be paying attention to right now is all of the other countries evacuating or recommending that their civilians evacuate Iran. Some of the statements from the State Department designated Iran a illegal detention harborer of, basically saying that, hey, they wrongfully detain people. Ben Gurion Airport in Israel is stacked right now with tankers and with F-22s. There are a lot of indicators that are leading us down the path of what will eventually, likely, in my opinion, nobody's opinion on the internet, be strikes on Iran. If you don't believe me, here is Trump's latest on Iran. Fresh from today. I don't know where he is, but this was tweeted out by the White House.
But they don't want to quite go far enough, and it's too bad. Look, we've been playing with them for 47 years, and that's a long time. They've been blowing the legs off our people, blowing the face off our people, the arms. They've been knocking out ships one by one. But every month there's something else, so you can't put up with it too long. We're not happy with the negotiation. They just
Ted Cruz is such a boob. Look at him.
Just don't want to. They don't want to say the key words, we're not going to have a nuclear weapon. They have to say, we're not going to have a nuclear weapon. And they just can't quite get there. They want to enrich a little bit. You don't have to enrich when you have that much oil. So.
He's just, you know, I don't have anything against Ted Cruz. He's just standing there, you know.
So I'm not happy with the negotiation. Well, they should make a deal, but they don't want to quite go far enough, and it's too bad.
All right, let's come back up. Yeah, so I don't have anything necessarily to update you guys with on Iran. The best I've got is just, you know, what I've shown you so far tonight. We could dive into all the different open source intelligence folks and all of their tracking of airframes moving in and out of the country. Just go recommend following them for that stuff. Once there's video, you know where you'll be able to find it. Let's do a quick trip around the world before we get into the Western Hemisphere. Jeff is screaming at somebody upstairs. I want to take you to France. This is just some interesting footage that we had. This is the Foreign Legion training in somewhere between Bordeaux and Marseille, I want to say it was. But I think it's interesting that the French Foreign Legion is still absolutely getting after it.
L'assaut est lancé. Les soldats investissent les rues. Ils doivent s'emparer de ce village tenu par l'ennemi. Sous les fenêtres des habitants.
Hold on a second. I'm pretty sure this guy just killed his buddies. Maybe not.
Sous les fenêtres des habitants. Des tirs à blanc. Même s'il s'agit d'un exercice militaire.
Fake news. Opening footage is dated Sunday, 12 October. The opening footage?
Les maisons sont toutes proches.
Dans ce type de petit village un peu historique, le combat est rapidement à très courte portée et c'est exactement la difficulté du combat.
The opening footage was an airstrike.
C'est pour ça qu'on doit être très nombreux et avancer très vite.
Tout ce que vous voyez est un entraînement.
Allez, go.
organisé par la 13e demi-brigade.
I have no
de la
idea what these
Légion
people are saying.
étrangère. Cet exercice de plusieurs jours se déroule en zone habitée.
Allez, en avant.
Dans ce scénario, le camp allié doit s'emparer de plusieurs villages de Lozère. Pour cela, les troupes au sol peuvent s'appuyer sur ces griffons.
Okay, that's enough of this. Anyway, just wanted to show you guys some of that training footage from the French Foreign Legion. Now let's head into Mexico, where the Funker fall-off will continue with footage of El Mencho. If you weren't tracking, El Mencho was killed, leader of the new Jalisco Cartel, I think I want to say their name is. He was killed in a Mexican military operation supposedly backed by United States intelligence, but which caused a whole bunch of problems. We're going to get into that in a second. His son was also captured recently. Check this out. All right. Now, I've got some footage of a military operation actively taking place in Puerto, how do you say it? What is it? Vallarta? 2 L's is a Y? Is that what it is? I failed Spanish twice. So anyway, the footage is going to take place here. We're going to be watching from this balcony as not only helicopters go by, but also Mexican Army vehicles travel down this road. Now, I don't know if this is the same operation. These were released at about the same time, if I recall. Anyway, it's pretty spicy in Mexico right now. Is that a 134 mounted to the front of that? That's a minigun mounted to the front of that. Right? Those are Mexican Marines, not Army. Yeah, sick. Okay. Yeah, good correction. Appreciate it. I saw another comment earlier that in an earlier video we watched is watermark. Dude, if I showed you guys a watermark video that's old and presented it as new, my bad. Thank you for the correction. Everybody wash that from your mind. I'm not here to sell you anything. I'm here to show you footage and do my best to provide as much context to that as possible. We cover just about every war zone that you can think of. Anywhere where there's conflict, use of force, any kind of combat. These are all going to be places that I'm about a mile long and an inch deep on. I don't consider myself an expert in Cartel, Ukraine, Israel, Gaza, not even the global war on terror. You know, there are very few things I claim any level of expertise on. So if you guys have a correction for something, throw it in the chat, scream at me, call me a dumbass. It's fine. Thank you for the correction. All right, let's move to the next video that I've got here. Let's play Funker Fact or Fiction. So I want to show you guys some footage that made its way around that was being claimed as heavy fighting in the same area, right? This was being claimed as part of this renewed fighting post El Moncho being killed. However, Mencho, not Moncho. Oh, that doesn't matter. We'll just call him Moncho. Watch the video, then we'll come back. You tell me if it's current or not. All right, this is actually from 2020. So another one of those instances where footage kind of just makes its way out onto the internet, gets shared, gets uploaded and downloaded, and just perpetuates itself. This is old footage. So we went back and we were able to find this actually in an offline archive that we have. So be careful what you're watching. This one was interesting. Here's a bunch of Canadians on vacation in Mexico. Literally just watching the cartel take over the city. There was another one with a bunch of Canadians on the beach, just watching fires all around the city. And these fires are being set almost diversionary style so that the cartel leaders could make their way out of the city. Mexico, another pretty spicy area. Let's move into the archive section. So there's going to be a little bit of history. Funker 530 is a historical archive. That is our primary mission and focus. But this is going to be the USS Missouri back in, I want to say April 11th, 1945, being hit by a Japanese kamikaze attack. You got to look really hard, but you're going to see the kamikaze skimming across the waves there. You got to look really hard, and you can just make out fuselage and wings almost diagonal right here. Ronnie seems to be a proud boy. Proud of what? Like I'm proud of my kids. It's important to note that that little bit of aluminum and wooden frame aircraft did very, very little running into the side of that ship. Like it might have made a smudge. Imagine that for just a second. Imagine that your last effort in life is to just sacrifice yourself for the Empire of Japan. And you just ram your plane into the side of the USS Missouri. And it makes a smudge. Woof. All right. Interestingly, for those that don't know, the USS Missouri is where MacArthur would receive the surrender of the Japanese. What would that be, 9 months later? December, right? Yeah, 2 December 1945. So, ship's fine. Maybe don't fly your plane into it. I told you earlier we were going to take a look. So, once again, staying with the archive. This is going to be footage from Syria, circa 2015. This back during the the Syrian Civil War, the Free Syrian Army and the umbrella of organizations underneath of that would always swap around. They would pass each other's fighters around, subject to who's fighting over what territory, all kinds of crazy stuff. But one of the cool things about this, cool is relative, was that you had a really great opportunity to see a CIA-backed organization fight a Department of Defense-backed organization. Anyway, here's a TOW missile targeting a Humvee.
الفرقة الوسطى تقوم باستهداف في ريف حلب الجنوبي بصاروخ الطائرة. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الفرقة الوسطى استهداف آلي للميليشيات الإيرانية في تل باجر في ريف حلب الجنوبي. الله أكبر والعزة لله.
Boop.
أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر.
Tube-launched, optically tracked, wire-guided missile. All right. Toe. Let's pause for a second and check in on the support, and thank you guys so much for it. Again, this stream, as always, is free. You don't have to be sending in dollars and members and all that stuff, guys. It's appreciated. You know, I don't have better words for it than just saying it's appreciated, but the stream's free. So anyway, Calico Jack, thank you for the $10. Haven't seen it said yet, so happy birthday. Not my birthday, bud. Thanks, man. Thank you for the $10, sir. Calico Jack, thank you again for the 5 gifted. Holy crap, dude. 5 gifted, and those went to Pasami 2, Blade Runner, the 38th Division, Emerald Wolf, and Mushroom Gravy. Sami has 44 months as a member. Thanks very much for being here. Calico Jack, 48 months as a member. Andrew Gagner. Thanks for the $5. No one is more conflicted about this than the ISI. Speaking specifically to the Taliban fighting Pakistan. Again, I'm just saying, I hope they both just have as good of a time as possible. The more effective they can be, each, I think the better we all, the better we all are. Just put it that way. The B Knight, thank you for the $2. If things go hot on Iran, will you stay on the air? Yeah, maybe. I'll probably be live anyway on the follow-up stream, so maybe that's where over on my personal channel we'll end up covering combat footage if we need to, you know. But yeah, as soon as footage starts hitting the wire of anything that kicks off in Iran, if I'm not live, you'll find it on dropping on Funker 530. When things like that happen, these major kind of world events that involve combat, that involve war, the team essentially spins up 24/7. We did that with Russia's invasion of Ukraine. We did that with Israel's, push into Gaza. We did that with the U.S. strikes on Natanz at all, right? So always be checking in on the site. Be paying attention to the app because we will notify you when something major like that kicks off. And if I'm live, yeah, full send. Let's move into our Ukraine segment. The majority of the Ukraine footage that I have for tonight isn't going to be geolocatable footage, or it's not footage that I have geolocations for, but we will start with some. I want to start in Kostiantinivka in Donetsk. We're going to go here first. Let me get to the map. Stop it. Back. Google Earth. Hamster spinning. Here we go. We're going to this spot. Hello. Let's go. We go right here. This dam was struck by Russia. Once that dam was struck, essentially this whole area just flooded out, which of course caused this smaller river to essentially overflow and threatens really any defensive positions for Ukraine in just about any of this low ground here. And we're going to see before and after that, we'll see the strike that takes out the dam itself. And then we're also going to see some post-strike footage. Now, right before, actually, let's go back to the map. Right before the dam strike, you're going to see a bridge strike as well. That bridge, if I'm not mistaken, is this bridge. I believe. It's either that bridge or this bridge. One of these two bridges. But the dam itself is the major thing I wanted to take a look at. I know. Thank you for your music. All right. Here it is. There's that bridge. And then there's the dam being struck twice. You can see the second impact there. Boom, boom. Kind of back to back. One of those rounds might have landed in the water behind it, but that first one certainly didn't. And that could be video compression the second time watching that through. Yeah, that might be the video screwing up. Might be just a single, very large munition, 1,500, 3,000, something like that. And you can already see the break in the dam happening there. Right there, you see that water flowing. But here's a little bit of aftermath of that, which I'm sure is only going to get worse. Captured via drone. See the water level has receded a little bit. And then it's going to pan out, and there's more of that water running out. And this is eventually going to give us a big wide angle that'll just show kind of how much that water has risen. See a vehicle there. And this is a road. You see the tracks moving to it and from it. That water level coming up into that residential area I was showing you. Look at that. That smaller river we were looking at, that's this. I imagine the current in that's pretty strong as well. Which is better, Pacific or Generation Kill? Well, if I answer that, I'm going to get yelled at because I am biased. I'm extremely biased on that question. While my preference of just watching one would be the Pacific, I'm going to have to say Generation Kill because of my buddy Rudy. So that is honestly still one of my favorites. It holds up to this day. It really does. All right, let's move to the next one. We're going to spend some time on this one. I'm going to piss probably 100% of you off. Let's go. That's going to be a good time. In Konstantinivka, Russia recently targeted the residential area with what most people are calling phosphorus, but what is more likely magnesium. We've talked about this probably ad nauseum at this point, but there's always new folks here, and we're going to recover some of it. All right? Here's the footage. We're going to talk about this one a little bit more after we watch it once through. And that is reportedly, it was either a 1,500 or a 3,000. The Fab 1,500 or 3,000. I'm not sure which. I don't recall. But let's talk about this, okay? Because each time this comes up, you'll get a ton of people, even some people with a large amount of followers that are doing their damnedest to continue to be wrong about war, that will tell you that the use of phosphorus in war is banned. It's not. That's not specific to this video. Me saying that is not specific to this video. In this video, what you're seeing is a city, Kostiantynivka, that still comprises of approximately 2,000 civilians. The use of any munition against a civilian population is a war crime, right? War crime is always an interesting topic for me because subject to where you sit, war itself is more likely the crime, right? So we end up arguing these nuances on what is and is not a, by definition, war crime, when in fact, the war itself is really the first crime, and then you're arguing nuance beyond the origin of all of it. But let's speak specifically to phosphorus. Phosphorus is not banned. No incendiaries are banned for use in war. You can flamethrower the shit out of somebody if you want to. You can literally burn them alive with phosphorus if they are a military adversary. The Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons is the regulating convention for incendiaries, specifically Protocol 3. Protocol 3 of the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons states very specifically that ground-based, well, states by exclusion that ground-based incendiaries can still be used on civilian concentrations. But in order to do that, you have to be able to, one, make sure that you can articulate that you did everything that you could to take precautions against civilian casualties in damaging civilian objects. This is a residential area. Those are obviously civilian objects, right? Now, if there is a valid military objective, you are still allowed to leverage incendiaries against a military objective, making sure, once again, that you are separating that military objective from civilian objects and civilians themselves. You can still use ground-based incendiaries. Air-based incendiaries cannot be used against civilian concentrations. I've worded it all this way for a very specific reason. Other than civilian concentrations, you can incendiary the hell out of your military adversary. You can take a flamethrower to a trench line and burn the shit out of it. All of the troops inside of it. You can do that. You can phosphorus them too. You can magnesium them, right? Where it starts, the only place it is quote unquote banned, and it's still not banned, it's regulated, is with civilian concentrations. There is a civilian concentration in this city. So again, I'm not speaking specifically to this video. Unfortunately, when I try to cover these more broad topics, and I did this earlier on Twitter as well, I tried to cover it from a very broad perspective and then bring it to the video. The knee-jerk reaction is, well, there's civilians there. It's like, I know, the people are saying phosphorus is banned, and that's not true. That matters because eventually you'll end up down this path of people saying things like, you can't use a 50 cal on infantry. You can absolutely do that. I strongly recommend that you do that. It's wildly effective on infantry, a 50 caliber. A deuce against dismounts, do that. But that's how you end up with those kinds of rumors, is by saying things at the very top level. Phosphorus is banned. No, it's not. It's absolutely not banned. Now, it is illegal to target civilians with incendiaries, first and foremost, in any capacity. If you are targeting civilians with incendiaries, can't do that. By definition, you just can't do that. If there are military objectives in or near civilian concentrations, it starts to become a gray area. And there's a reason that human rights organizations have such a problem with the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons in the first place. Because there is that subjective language that allows that little bit of loophole. You can't use air, but if they're ground launched, BM-21 Grad, 9M22S, like we're probably seeing here, that is a loophole where you can say, well, we took precautions, you know, we were monitoring that area and it was only military when we targeted that area. Again, speaking at the very top level, phosphorus itself is not banned. Incendiaries are not banned for use in war. There are about 2,000 civilians estimated still in Kostiantynivka. Okay, that is a civilian concentration. What Russia would have to do, if they are ever held accountable for this, is be able to say, we took precautions. And then they would have to prove those, subject to international court. But they have to be held accountable to that first. Okay. Let's pause. I'm going to read through some of the comments here because it matters. Phosphorus is unbanned. Well, it never was banned. Right? Yeah, again, like so if you go to my Twitter, Ronnie Adkins _, there will be the most recent tweet up there has a quote tweet. That's got the actual language from the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons, Protocol 3, Article 2, for you to read yourself. Okay? There's a reason that it says air delivered and other than air delivered. Those words matter. Words matter at that level. Ban war, not phosphorus. Well, I mean, so if I launch a drone from a drone launcher and that drone spits fire downwards while hovering, is still not a war crime. Yeah. So again, say for instance, going back to the Dragon drones, I actually did a dedicated edited upload video on the Dragon drones. You have yet to see the Dragon drones employed against a civilian concentration. You saw those most prominently used against forests. There's also a regulation carve out in the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons for forests as well. But you're allowed to use them against forests if those forests are being used by your military objective for concealment, cover, etc. So that was the other thing people were trying to say. It's like, no, well, you're not allowed to burn forests down with incendiaries. Well, you can, according to paragraph 1. No. Yeah. Either paragraph 1 or 2 of Article 2 of Protocol 3 of the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons. You could do that, right? Because it's a military objective. They're using that forest as concealment and cover. That's their cover. It's like blowing up their building. You know what I mean? So those Dragon drones that were being used and have been used by both Russia and Ukraine at this point to just spew magnesium-based hellfire, murder sparkles down on their adversary, they were targeting military objectives. Not a war crime. It's not. War is gross, man. People keep telling me they understand it. And then when you see war, not necessarily specific to this video again, because there are civilians that live there. So where exactly those civilians are, I have no idea. There are civilian objects. Civilian objects matters very much because that specifically is a part of that language as well. This is where the hang up happens for me, though, because we have been watching this footage of we're going to talk. We've been watching this footage of airstrikes on all manner of civilian objects for years. I mean, we've watched 9M22S falling over Kyiv before, right? There is an absolute intermingling of military objectives with civilian concentrations there. And no, you are not supposed to be targeting those things. But then we end up down in these like little nuance arguments that are so far past the origin story argument. Russia's been targeting civilian populations since the start of this. It goes all the way back to the base problem. And it's frustrating that we end up doing that because it detracts from the origin story of the issue. For me, at least, right? And you know, this isn't anger. This isn't, you know, complaint. It's observation over the last 4 years worth of covering this. Phosphorus is not banned. It's not. Just to bring it all the way back. You flamethrower the shit out of your enemy. Doesn't matter, right? Don't use them against civilians. They're regulated against civilian use and against forests. Let's move on. I got one more video from Kostiantynivka. This one's an up-close video. And it is a couple Ukrainians doing their best to survive against a drone. It's just really unique footage. Like you can actually see the PG-7 fly off the front of that. Right, that's what you're seeing there. So it detonated the booster. Kind of took off. At least that's what I'm reading out of this. Now, here's what's weird about that one though. The more I watch this and pay attention to it. Most of these don't typically have their boosters on them, right? It's just the warhead. At least that's what my understanding was. But that sucker definitely took off. Look at that screen grab right there. Rules asterisk. Oh, yeah, dude. I don't know if this is what you're talking about, but that reminds me to say something I always do. Trying to wrap rules around war is always like the base interesting topic to me, because again, the more you circle back, the more you kind of reel it in subject to where you sit, words matter. The war itself is the crime, so then you end up arguing the nuance of an act in a war that itself is the crime. Right? It's like you thought you were gonna wrap guardrails around killing people. Anyway, this was a cool video. Gives you a little bit of insight into NATO training that's being provided to Ukrainians and the quote-unquote value that's being provided back from Ukrainians. It's not unlike, imagine for a moment a training ground was being provided for, I don't know, the Winter War, right? And somewhere 200 miles off the line, the Finns were basically offloading all of their techniques, and they were also absorbing other techniques from other militaries. This takes place in Poland, and I want to say it's like Norway. I think I saw an Estonian flag in here, but it gives some good insight, and we're only going to watch a couple minutes of this because I got a bunch of shit to still get through here. It gives some good insights into some of the training now, as opposed to some of the insights we had from the training that Ukrainians are receiving and providing back to NATO from previous in the war.
Але вона приходить різко і приходить, і ніхто її не чекає. Але якщо працювати, його можна витримати.
We are really grateful, we are really respectful for what they do, but if you're not feeling anything, then you're not a human.
So, how does this work? This is a shock grenade, so it will have good effect in trench and in, example, in closed rooms.
This is a camp in Poland. is a Nordic-Baltic joint effort. We bring in Ukrainian troops for 50 days for high quality training. So most of them have a lot of experience and less education and formal competence. So that is why we are here. We're not going into the numbers, but the capacity is big enough to train the amount they are in.
Those are HKs.
These are you guys. So this one is now saying prepare shock.
If you cannot shoot, move, and communicate, you cannot fight. I think that's the baseline.
You saw this on the first on Monday, right? The goal for this exercise is to get as good grouping on the target as possible.
A little longer burst.
We're also educating Ukrainian instructors, enhancing the quality of their training.
Працювати з новими солдатами – це як підготовлювати свій особовий склад для себе. І мені дуже важливо не просто стати їхнім інструктором, а важливо стати для них справжнім сержантом, справжнім наставником, з якого вони зможуть взяти приклад. І вони будуть дотримуватися цього прикладу.
The Ukrainians brings the best experience right now from modern battle. We are adapting to the trends we're seeing in the war, tweaking the courses, making it more advanced. The experience sharing and the stories they are telling, especially on the drone and electronic warfare, that is improving our specialists working with that.
Кожен боєць, кожен воїн, він повинен бути тренований. Може залежати там успішність операції або життя його побратимів.
Можливо, він стане моїм сослуживцем, з яким ми будемо працювати в подальшому, воювати, обороняти, штурмувати. Це доволі складно емоційно, не всі витримують такого тиску.
Що саме я відчуваю?
All right, I'm going to paste the link for the remaining few minutes of this video in the chat because I've got a couple more videos I want to get to before the end of the stream tonight. Ronnie, Funker, do you watch others YouTubes that kind of do what you do? No, I do not. I honestly don't have time to watch others' stuff, just to be frank with you. And I also don't like to, not because I don't like other people. I prefer to ensure that what I am relaying to you is coming from me. Now that does, in certain circumstances, leave me a little bit less informed than somebody might be more informed on a thing, but at least you'll know that what I am telling you is coming from me. It's not somebody else's take or position on things. It is mine, right? The last other war type content I watched was the last episode of Cappy's Combat Review I did with Cappy, just to see how much of a stupid idiot I am, being honest. Let's move to a couple more of these videos. I thought this was an interesting perspective. This is supposedly VDV, just a first-person perspective from the VDV. Now, we don't get a ton of Russian first-person perspective footage. We haven't gotten a ton of it. There is absolutely footage of it out there. You can find it on Funker. You can find it everywhere. But relative to the amount of first-person video footage, i.e. GoPro, on, down at the soldier level, not from a drone, something like that, relative to the amount that Ukraine puts out, it's actually somewhat rare to find new first-person video that we haven't watched here for Russian perspective. Anyway, this is Russian VDV. Unknown date, unknown location. It's pretty cold wherever it is, so it could be this year, it could be last year. But I hadn't yet seen this video. What about fun channels like Kentucky Ballistics? No, most of my fun time is spent on my own fun channel. Funker and I started a new channel, which you can see pinned right at the top there, American Marksman. We used to do a lot more of our, a lot more of the same type of content we're doing at American Marksman here on the Funker 530 channel. You'll find all that stuff in the Funker Travels playlist. But I've been competing in shooting sports since I was in high school. So we started a channel specifically about long-range marksmanship. The link to that channel is right there at the top of the chat. It's pinned to the top. And I saw a question about my shirt earlier. This is part of our American Marksman merch. No, he did not. Hockey 5. All right, let's bring it back up. MK Punch, thank you for the 5 gifted. Appreciate that, man. Thank you very much. But no, he did not move out of the communist north. He's still up there. Ronnie, you growing your beard out? Yes, it'll be gone tomorrow. I actually am filming a new major production. You guys remember the one that I was a part of for the History Channel, where I'm doing another one, and it starts filming on Monday. So I'll be going down to the mustache. They're going to let me keep the mustache this time. Distribution on this one isn't going to be network, though. We're going to take control of that ourselves. I got a couple more videos I want to show you guys. Fog of War, something we talk about a lot, is most people say they'll have an understanding of it, but then they'll ask things like, how can that even happen? Well, it's real, dude. Like, and as patrols are happening, as you are going to move to a new location, your adversary is also trying to move to a new location, and there are these circumstances where you just cross paths. This is what happens when that happens. This is Ukrainian perspective. I'm going to keep the music off until we get to that little interaction point that we saw there. I've been dealing with a lot of copyright since I've been playing too much of the audio lately.
Стой, стой. А ну стой. Стой. Что? Стой. Ствол опусти. Ты откуда? Ты бросил? Ствол опусти. Рука с автомата, блядь. Рука с автомата продрал, нахуй. Провоси автомат, руки в гору. Поднимай.
And if you didn't quite catch that, so he goes to lay down his rifle right there, picks it back up, and there's a shot that rings out from his rifle first. All right. The rest of it, they essentially do SSE on him, and then it moves to this UGV to take him out of the battle space, presumably. And that was it for that one. That's going to be it for the footage that I have for you guys. The rest of it is more or less kind of your standard perspective stuff. I mean, a couple FPV strikes. But we are running up on time, and I always have one more video for you. Okay. I'll get to those in a second. Thank you very much to the Degrader for the $5.89. Where'd you get the hoodie? Yeah, American Marksman merch over on Bunker Branding. You just Google Bunker Branding American Marksman. Scope Daddy line we just released. Just grab one of those over there. That is Funker and I. You know, he and I are both long-range shooters. All those shots you see me of me taking 3,900 yards, 3,100 yards, he's taking the same ones. He just likes to fly the drone instead. Uncle Hucklebuck, thank you for the $20, man. Appreciate that. And Tyler Cameron, thank you for the $2.69. Scotland here. Welcome in from Scotland. And Calico Jack, thank you again for the $10. So here's the deal. Always have one more video for you. I always do, right? Even when we get on the follow-up stream, I'll have more videos for you if you really want them. There are two places you can always rely on to humble you if you're being an asshole. This second one was most recently added to the list. The first is going to be Waffle House. You want to be an asshole? You take yourself up to Waffle House, and that'll humble you pretty quickly. The second is going to be Whataburger. I'm out of here. Good night. We'll see you on the follow-up stream. You can just follow along in the chat. It's going to notify you that everybody's coming over there to watch me get a little tipsy, drinking too much bourbon than I'm supposed to. We'll try to raise a little bit of money for veteran charity if I can figure out how to get that all connected properly. I won't see you next week because I've got a bunch more filming to do on this big new project. I think you guys are going to like it, though. But enjoy this. Good night. Stay informed and go be great. That boy got his ass whipped. Wait till he gets up. Look at him hitting him with the fucking... Look at the... That's the trash can. That dude. What do you do? What do you do after that? You know what I mean? Like... When you get beat up at a Whataburger with a Whataburger trash can, what's next for you? You know what I mean? Like, is that it? I don't know. Good night.
I guess.